Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 51 of the Lunch Bunch. Really happy to be here as usual, and very happy today to be talking all about me. Yes, today is about me, it's about vanity, it's about narcissism, and why people use social media. Does it cause narcissism? Does it cause vanity? Or just are people who are vain and narcissistic attracted to it? So we're going to talk about that. None of us are clinical psychologists. We're not going to go deep into what causes people to be that way. But what we want to discuss is your experience on social media, and do you think that people are using this basically as a mirror, as to show the best of themselves? And as far as narcissism goes, basically, are they using it to build their own kingdom, their own little empire around them? So I'd be very interested in your comments, so please leave them in the event page, and we're going to get back to them, and we'll highlight them in the show if we get them fast enough. And that's it. So today, Lunch Bunch show, as usual, we'll start, the first 15 minutes will be about our major topic, and then we're going to go to see what everybody else has brought to the lunch table, and then we'll leave you with a doggy bag full of helpful tips and links. So let's go on and say hello to our panel. Jessica, say hi. And Jessica waves. Randy, good to see you again.
Glad to be here, Ray. I'm glad we're talking about me today.
Yeah. I don't know if there's enough room in this film strip for you and I. Scotty, say hi. How you doing?
Hi, from foggy Seattle, Washington.
Ah, great. Today, the sun just broke out here in Montreal, and it's a bit warm for October. Hello, Vivek. How are things in the afternoon in London?
Yeah, it's autumn is here, so it's all. I need a jumper and probably another one. So.
I shared some great shots of my morning walk in the Old Port, and this time of year is absolutely stunning with the trees and everything. I love it, but you know what's coming after that, so you just have to enjoy it while it lasts. So let's get to the topic. Narcissism and social media. Is it the perfect playground for a narcissist? And who wants to lead off?
I'll go.
Thank you.
And as I'm glad you stated, none of us are psychologists or psychiatrists or studied in that particular ailment or disease, but so we're voicing our own opinion and our own experiences. So in my experience and what I see is, yeah, it's an incubator full of opportunities for those who might exhibit that condition. And I would go further to say that and I know you're probably going to share some topics, some stuff that you looked up, but I would go further to say that social media platforms are so young that it could be a contributor to causing that in later life with people, because the way some people are growing up in sharing, it's all about themselves. These school-age kids and things like that, it's just rampant out there. So, that's just a general opening statement.
Maybe I should have probably done this at the top. Give it a definition of vanity versus narcissism, just that people are clear. Vanity can be defined as a great admiration in one's success or looks. Freud defined narcissism as a person who is characterized by incapacity for love for anyone else but themselves. So there we see the difference. And I'd like to bring up Phil's comment if I could. I'll highlight it now, actually. Phil is asking, is kingdom the same as community? And I would say definitely not. The sign of a healthy community is the interaction within the community. If a narcissist built a community, which I don't know if they would anyway, unless they had to pay for it, it would be basically a community that would be on their knees to the leader all the time. The leader would be dictating what goes on in the community, his own opinions or her own opinions. So they're quite the opposite. A community is something that's very democratic. Lots of interaction between the people inside the community, and that's what really makes a community helpful. A kingdom is servants, and they're all subservient to the head guy, the chief.
One of the things that we that kind of spiral around in this world a lot, and Dalb and all the different platforms have always talked about, it's about being social. Social is a two-way conversation. It's a two-way handshake. It is not all about me. And one of the rubs that we've always talked about is the broadcasters that get on the channels, and all they do is talk about their brand or talk about themselves, and they don't engage back. So those those type people or those type brands kind of, it doesn't take long to identify that. You can just peruse their bio or their feed a little bit, and you can see how engaging are these people. Are they on there just to sell you something, or are they on there to build a community?
That makes me think of our 15 minutes of fame, and that has started in my generation with reality TV. And, Randy, you just hit on something. So if we've got this idea of we're looking for our 15 minutes of fame, we are trying really hard to figure out what this viral mix is for us and ourselves, because we're trying to make a space. We're trying to arrive, and it's something where, are we trying too hard, and are we forgetting we've already arrived? Because that push marketing, it doesn't work as much in today's. Push marketing is very much brand awareness. It's very much branding, but it's not selling anymore.
Well, another aspect of what social media, Google Hangouts, YouTube, and things like that have done is empowered people in their own creativity to develop their own show, to develop their own stardom. In other words, they can go out and write something, produce it, put it on air, and say, hey, I've got a reality show, or I've got this show, or something like that. Now, whether they have an audience or whether the content is good or not, but in their mind, they start populating and doing. Some people are very successful at that. And there is an audience for that. YouTube is full of those vanity type videos or skill set videos that are out there that are just viral like crazy. So it gives you the opportunity in your own, whether you're getting the accolades or not, you can satisfy your own desire by putting your face out there.
Because we often hear people saying, "Oh, that's a vanity project," because it's just all about you, right? It's not about the people you're doing it for. I just want just to aside, because you were talking about narcissism in terms of personalities, and Jean Twenge, who wrote a couple books. One was Generation Me, and the other one was The Narcissism Epidemic. She has stated in one of her in the first book, basically, that are we raising a generation of narcissists by constantly giving them artificially good grades in school, by not giving them limitations, by always feeding into the fact that they're the best.
No losers.
So that I think that's an issue. But she says basically narcissism uses Facebook as a technologically enhanced mirror, reflecting a preoccupation with one's own image, others' reactions to this image, and a desire to update that image as frequently as possible. What do you say to that?
Yes.
Yes,
well, thank you.
I agree.
Well, thanks everybody for joining us today.
Well done.
You gotta, I'm a realist, and like I said, we're sharing opinions. All you got to do is spend an hour going through Facebook feed, and you'll see that, right? You see that people. The selfie thing has just become what is so strange about it is what started as, and I don't know actually the history of a selfie, but what started as some little thing, maybe a celebrity doing something, now you got grandmas doing it. What does that tell? Kids encouraging their grandparents to do it and all that stuff. It's gotten to be, we're all like Jess said, 15 minutes of fame. Only I don't know if that's 15 minutes any longer. It can be, forever if you hit it right.
Jess?
This is something that it really makes me think, because I look at the world in a really different way, because I love the idea of selfies. Totally and completely and utterly love the idea of being able to take a snapshot of myself and share it with people who I don't get to see every day, who they might even be 10 miles away like me and Scott, but we don't really see each other in real life. The idea of being able to take pictures and share my life with somebody is really cool, but I am expecting that in return these days. So I am bringing you into my life, but I'm not just doing it because I think I have a cool life. And in fact, I don't do it a whole lot because I don't want people to think I feel like I have a cool life, because I have a pretty normal life. But when we're thinking about the idea of selfies, and we're thinking about the ideas of whatever we're talking about, because that just went into a bubble and floated away, it makes me think of our ability to have a presence, and we have influence whether we believe it or not. And in the sense that we do have this influence, it's how we use it. And I really think that there's going to be this gap, and I think it's already started. And what I don't know is if it started with the baby boomer generation and we're kind of down into this X and millennial and whatever, and they're like, well, we don't know, but it doesn't quite feel right. And then it'll actually come full circle in the generation after, like whatever generation Carter is a part of, that they'll come back to this idea of we really want to connect and we want to meet people where they're at, instead of it's all about me, or it's coming across as all about me. And so I think that there's a gap there of being able to serve the best interest of others, but still be very aware, transparent, and present in this multimedia space.
Well, that's the definition of being social, Jess. I agree totally with you. Nothing wrong with selfies.
Right.
I think when we go back to the topic at hand of being narcissistic, those people that, I mean, you know, that everything they do, they're taking a picture of it. Every moment of the day, they're and we're all guilty of taking pictures of the food we might be eating or the drink we might be enjoying. But I mean, there's those out there that are just selfie after selfie, or look at me type post, one right after the other. Now, to me, I don't know, like I said, I don't know, I can't diagnose somebody, but that sure is over the top vanity in my book. You know, look at me. I mean, and when you go back, even somebody clicks on there and says, hey, that's a nice picture, or they like it or something like that, and they don't even click that they saw the response. You can tell that.
I think that oh, sorry, Jess, because I just want to go actually to Phil's comment, because I want to speak about what he asked about, and that's where does influencer fit within the mix. He's asking basically, what if you're the leader of your community, but there's still that exchange where everybody's voice counts? Where's the line between king, queen, and leader, and where does influencer? And I think people are drawn to narcissists. You know, I mean, political leaders, especially, you know, the dictators, people who will come off as very, very firm in their convictions, very steady, very clear on what they want to do. People look up to that, and I think that, you know, narcissists stake their ground on that somewhat. But again, they're also charming. So bringing us back to social media, because I mean, it's nice to talk about.
I'll bring it back. I'll bring you back, and we were talking about this in the green room, and that is Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yeah.
I mean, here's a guy who is, I mean, he's at the top of his game, gaining every day. He is everywhere, but he is so giving of himself, so sharing. Now, everybody said, yeah, but part of that is his stick to give it. You know, I don't see it. I see him understanding social, being friends with his community, loyal community, promoting them. His little segments, 10 minutes or whatever, ask Gary question things where he's putting your picture on there, he's promoting you and giving you the opportunity. And you got to say, here's a guy that's got 1 million something fans, right? And he goes through it. And he's certainly got a horde of a staff that backs him up to put all that stuff together. And he doesn't really have to do what he's doing, but he understands that community. To me, that's a leader.
And I'm going to add to
the opposite of that. I see people with far fewer, with some celebrity status and everything, and they wouldn't take 10 minutes to do anything kind of an exchange.
You know what? I'm going to completely add to that. Whether you, our best gift for ourselves to other people is to put everybody else's interests first, and that is something that Gary does with great skill. And I think that when we're looking at how do we help each other, how do we show up and give, and still whatever other stuff we want to be doing, there's a place for that. And everybody who is just kind of this whole vanity, narcissistic place, they're going to be seen as noise sooner than later, and they're going to try harder for a while, and then they'll either keep doing what they're doing all by themselves, or they'll hopefully come around.
What you say, because we're going to finish this segment very, very soon, is very important, and I think Gary Vaynerchuk is a good example of someone, as you say, he puts other people's interest in front of his own, and that's the complete antithesis of what a narcissist is.
Yes.
A narcissist always puts his own interest first. So that's cool. And then so in terms of discussing this, why are we bother discussing this? Well, I want to discuss this because maybe you have people in your circles that you think are spending either an obsessive amount of time on social media, or you're thinking, wow, this guy is really cool, like he's so nice, da 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 da, and you dig a little deeper and you realize it is all about him. And how do we, and what signals, what will send that, what should we be aware of, what should we be looking for to find out who are these people that care more about themselves?
If you feel like a minion, you probably are one. In their eyes.
Pay attention to your,
right. So when you interact with somebody, if somebody's always like, oh, I love you, so go do this. Oh, I love you, but I want you to do this. Oh, I love you, but this and this and this. You feel that in your heart, and it feels a little icky. And it's only if it's between just one person. I would take a closer look at that person. That would be my thought.
That's excellent. I'm just going to highlight Heather's comment, and then we're going to move on to what you guys brought for the lunchbox. So Heather says, I have found this all to be a difficult part of leading a business. I am not a hey, look at me person, but people want you to do that. They are asking for more of what do you do when I don't watch the show. Much of that is some of my moats, and I can't read the rest. Can anybody see the comment, the event page?
Yeah, rest of it is, much of that is some of my most popular stuff. It is a tough line to walk.
I agree. I mean, it is, and I think part of being someone who is as generous as Heather is, and obviously she's not a narcissist, she's very helpful. Part of that leadership quality is the fact that you do lead them offline and to other aspects of yourself, and I think that shows someone who is definitely not in it for themselves. So let's move on to what you guys brought. So what are you going to share at the lunch table?
Well, I brought...
We're all going on a diet.
That's hilarious. I brought an article for the lunchbox, and it's from Inc. magazine called Women CEOs Dish: 4 Secrets to Fast Growth. And I'll post the link in the event. What I took away from it, there's actually really cool things. And by the way, you don't have to be a woman to take advantage of this. And in fact, all of us, especially those of us who were not necessarily salespeople, but we might not even be vision people, we can keep in mind. The first was, don't just have a target that sticks. You're not sticking your stick in the ground and just working from that. Today's business is a moving target, and in that moving target, we can adapt and we can get really creative on how we do things to be a servant to to allow other people's interests to be served by their connections to us. The other thing that I took away from the article was the ability to risk. And risk is, well, we could probably actually have a whole show on that at some point. But what is a risk to you, and can you take a risk? And your willingness to risk it allows for a possible greater failure, but it also allows for a bigger reward, and we don't necessarily know what we're made of until we try it.
Cool, excellent tip. And that tip, and what's the link you're going to be sharing?
It's from Inc. magazine, and the article's called 4 Secrets to Fast Growth.
Cool, thanks. I'll be looking at that.
I brought an article too from Radium One. And it's about identifying and activating your dark social blind spot. Research shows that around 72% of shares are cut and paste beyond the sharing buttons that we typically think of. So you're losing your analytics and your data somewhat if you're not capturing that. There's ways that you can do that. So it was very interesting to me, something that's kind of new on the horizon that people haven't been thinking about. The number kind of surprised me that many people would in other words, they're cutting and pasting it to a email or to a text message or something like that and sending it on and sharing it that way. So, the article is Marketers Identify and Activate Your Dark Social Blind Spot, and I will cut and paste that into the events page as well.
Cool. Thanks very much, Randy. Scotty.
So I had noticed that Heather Crafter, who prepares for her own program, the Craft Shack, is she always wants to visit us live, and oftentimes can't because she's too busy doing other things, but is here today and was planning on it. So that's what I'm bringing to the table, is to just introduce people to one of the greatest communities in the larger Google community, the Craft Shack, and especially if you're involved in crafting or you know someone who is, it would be a great thing to check out. And she has also organized her community in a different way than most other people do, and it's pretty innovative. So that's what I'll be pasting in the comment stream after the show today.
Excellent choice, and she is a very good example of that, of building community through Google+. Okay, Vivek, you have something up, and I'm going to pin you and let's see what it is.
Yeah, it's actually to do with the net neutrality, and this may have something to do with what you have been talking about in the green room. You were talking about upload speeds and so on. The mobile operators here in the UK and in Europe are trying to say that the net neutrality will be difficult to support because they want to make more money. And they are saying that your upload speed, and they want to have two-tier networks. One when you are watching certain websites or doing certain things, and other when you are doing certain other things. So they want to have two-tier network. And this whole article is about that. That they are trying to use some scare tactics, which is really bad.
Is that the same thing in the States, guys? Yeah, because that's what I've been reading. Thanks very much, Vivek.
Net neutrality. It's when the telecommunication industry writes the legislation.
Right.
And they did that way back in the 1990s, and now it's just now that the chickens are coming home to roost.
I heard because in Canada we only have like 3 or 4 major companies, communications companies, that control all of the internet. And I was explaining to Vivek, and that's what he was referring to about my issue with one of those companies and my upload speed, which is miraculously much higher today after a tweet. Isn't that surprising? Anyway, so what I'm bringing, I had a couple of things that I didn't know which to use for the doggy bag and which to use as my contribution. But I'm going to, for my contributions, this is more of a discussion thing. I'm going to just highlight this here, Emergent.info. I don't know if anyone's familiar with it. A friend of mine in Montreal, Craig Silverman, he's a journalist, very implicated in finding truth in journalism, and I think he has a site as well. Anyway, this is a new thing in collaboration with Columbia University, a research project he's working on. But it's a site you can go to when you hear these viral things and check before you share them whether they are actually true or not, if they've been verified or not. So it's quite interesting. I mean, obviously the three-breasted woman was a hoax. Too much to the chagrin, I'm sure, of some truckers out there. But that's and then there's the well, you can see the list there. So it's a cool site. It's called Emergent.info. And if you are into journalism, or actually just if you are into the truth, before you reshare things, it's a neat place to check out. So that's my contribution today, and we're actually almost at the doggy bag time. So I'm looking forward to seeing what we're going to be sharing today. Who wants to go first?
I'm happy.
Hello.
Oh, well.
I'll go, Scott.
Okay. Hey, Scott.
Okay. You'd think by now you'd think we'd have it down, wouldn't you? Well, we'll work on it every week. Well, mine is very simple. Following up on just manipulation of images and whatnot, there is a site out there that's free that's called Photosizer, and it's kind of spelled funny. I'll put it in the comment stream. And anytime you want to have an image and you want to have it just the right size, and sometimes that matters in terms of both video and if you're trying to put something on a website, it does this very easily. So that's my doggy bag for today.
Excellent. That's helpful too. If you want to, if you're posting your blog, for instance, and sharing on Google it's good to know what size your image on your post should be, so that you get that nice big thumbnail on your Google post. Next.
Can I
All
go?
right. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, Rebecca. That's it. You have to be assertive. Just go in there.
Yeah, this is a. I'm giving two quotes from Seth Godin. First one, he says, the reason they want you to fit in is that once you do, they can ignore you.
Cool.
That's why they want everyone to fit in. So that probably has some implications to today's, what we discussed today. Narcissism, whatever. The second one is, don't strive to be heard when you are here. Work to be missed when you are not.
That's cool. I like that one in particular. I think that's important, because everybody, I think, worries or thinks about what they're going to leave, right? What impression they make. Because really, you are your impression. If no one thinks about you once you're out of their face, then you really haven't accomplished anything. Yeah, that's a smart cookie, that Seth Godin guy. I think he's going to go places.
Yeah.
Okay, who's next?
I will share one of the podcasts that I enjoy very much, and it's a show friend of ours, Mark Schaeffer's Marketing Companion, that he does with Tom Webster. Today's show, he tackled Hello and the platform that we discussed last week. He and Tom kind of explored that, not necessarily that platform, but the opportunity of what's the need for all these other platforms. Do they fit? Is there a place in the space? Will they survive? Based on their business models and things like that. And surprisingly, hidden down into the bowels of the podcast is a great endorsement for the Google Plus platform from both of them. So it's worth a read, and I'll post that link. Anybody that hasn't started listening to that, he does it once a week with Tom Webster. It's pretty. They key off of each other. So I'll post that and share it.
Totally, I have to endorse. I do endorse him. I've left reviews, and I listen to that. I look forward to it. And I alternate between a smile and a furrow on my brow, because he makes you think, and he's very entertaining at the same time. It's a great show, and I want to respond to him because he did mention in Google Plus. Because when L came out, it was all about, hey, no ads. I said, huh? Hello, Google Plus, no ads. So that's a great link. Jess.
I brought a TED Talk video about everyday leadership from Drew Dudley that I will post. He talks about how no matter what our action, big or small, the impact that we leave on other people. And he tells a great personal story.
Excellent. Thank you. I look forward to that. So what I have for my doggy bag today is, again, this is a, let me in myself. This is, I don't know if anyone uses this. I use it with my Gmail. It's called Reported. And it's really cool. It's an extension that you add to your Gmail, and it works in Firefox or Chrome. And on the left-hand side, you'll see that. I don't know who Mary Davis is. It's just an example. It's off their landing page. But you'll see when you open up an email on the right column, and you'll see the LinkedIn profile and other profiles as well. So you get all this information about people that you're corresponding with in Gmail that you can go to right away. I think that's very cool. I use it a lot when I get a notification that someone subscribed to my newsletter from rayhills.com, by the way. And when I do that and I hover over their email, I don't even have to click on it. I just hover over it. This column comes up, and I can tell right away. First of all, did they have a Google Plus profile? Are they on LinkedIn? Are they on Twitter? Where can I find out more about them? So it's a really cool app, and it's called Reportive.
Cool.
Yeah, check it out. I find it helpful. It's a good content management thing. A very fast one. It's not certainly heavy duty. And I just want to leave you with one more thing. There's a couple of things that I found this week that was really interesting. One, I'm a loyal fan of Q. which is a CBC TV radio show. This week they interviewed the head honcho, Eric, of Google, and he had some really interesting things, Eric Schmidt of Google, interesting things about Google, and how he's worried that governments could actually destroy the internet with their not even need, just they want to get into your stuff. They want to get into your data. And he says on that interview that Google is the most private networks. I don't know. I can't speak for that, but that's what he says. The second thing today is David Bevis, who is the new president of Google+, finally came out and said Google+ is not going anywhere soon. In fact, it's still a very high priority. They didn't ship everybody off. You know, when Vic left the company, they actually got a brand new building on the east end of the campus. They're investing a lot of money in it. They're extremely happy with Hangouts and communities and photographs for sure. So for all those people who are, you know, every other day you read Google+ is dying thing, I invite you to check out that. I shared it on my Google+ stream as well. So thanks, everybody. I really appreciate this. I look forward to this, and I hope you enjoyed the show. And we'll see you next week for episode 52. Take care. Bye-bye.